Hello, I'm Rebecca from CQ Sewing and Patchwork in Rockhampton, Queensland, Australia. Today I'm going to show you my Kaleidoscope table runner. It's all made out of one fabric and it's best to use a border print. So let's get started. This project can be made while having a cup of tea and a biscuit. That's how quickly we can do it. So what we're using is our border fabric, and this time we've got 4 layers of border fabric, and we're going to pin them in exactly the same place through every single layer. So I like to pick a point on the top fabric, say the tip of a leaf or a part of a flower, and I go through that point, and I continually go through that point in all 4 layers. You can see I'm using flower head pins again because it makes it easy to put the ruler on top and then cut the piece out.
Tell them what Cheryl did with the iron.
When you're using flower head pins, just be very careful if you go to press, because the flower head pins will melt. They're not a glass head pin, they will melt, and we found that out the other day in class that we melted a few pins. So I like to pin along the entire row of fabric, and I place my pins roughly about 2 to 2.5 inches apart. See how I smooth it out as I go? It's a good idea to place all your pins facing the same way so they don't prick you. What I'm doing now is I'm using a 60-degree triangle ruler.
Don't you cut that fabric up?
And now I'm going to position the ruler nice and straight along the bordered edge, and I'm going to cut out a triangle. So you're cutting through all 4 layers, so make sure you've got a nice sharp blade.
You can cut anywhere along that line.
Yes, you're going to actually cut 4 triangles out along the strip of the fabric.
Yeah, once you've lined it all up.
Yeah, so make sure you position this and you allow room for all 4 triangles to be cut. So what I do is I leave that one there, and now I position it up the other way and cut out another triangle. Make sure you remove your pins before you get to them. Otherwise you'll put a burr in your blade. You don't want to run into a pin. You wouldn't be able to cut this sitting down, that's for sure.
You must drink your coffee slow.
And a biscuit's still sitting there waiting.
Yes, still waiting. Half the time I have cold coffee.
You need one of those little travel mugs to keep it hot. Put the lid on it in between.
Now you look like Larissa.
I do, don't I? It's not a good idea to cut towards yourself, especially when you're cutting through 4 layers. Now this is where it's very important. When we cut our next triangle piece out, we need to position it at the same place. See how I've got roughly about 1/4 inch over this border print? I've moved it along and I'm positioning it so I've got roughly 1/4 inch over that border print, okay? It doesn't matter that the piece may be different as long as I position it in the right spot along that border, okay? And we do the same with the bottom triangle. When we go to cut that, we make sure we position it in exactly the same place where we positioned this bottom triangle.
How can we position it just right?
I could have positioned it right on the line.
Quarter of an inch.
It didn't matter that it was a quarter of an inch over.
Well, they're just asking something probably easier for them to do.
You lose some.
So it doesn't matter if your prints are different, as long as they're positioned along that border print in exactly the same spot. The ruler is an equilateral triangle, which means all sides and angles are the same. So the angle on the ruler is a 60-degree angle.
Rebecca, does this cost?
Sorry.
So once you've got all your pieces cut out, have another sip of your coffee and a bite of your biscuit. Before you do that, you must dunk it. So now we're going to lay out all our triangles. So you're going to end up with 16 triangles.
Is this on YouTube so we can watch it?
It will be on YouTube, yes. There's a couple of different ways we can lay this out. You can see where it's going, yes? See how it was important to lay out the triangles in exactly the same position? It doesn't matter that the prints aren't the same, but that border print now is running like a kaleidoscope in the middle. Looks very effective. So we have 16 triangles. We actually only use 14.
Have you got kids that is made up for us?
Of course she has.
She's one step ahead of everybody.
Not for everyone, but I will if it depends how kids are. So if you have a look, see how you've got two pieces here that are different?
Yes.
I could have put 4 of the white flower in if I wanted to in the centre. So have a play with all your pieces and just see what looks best.
Can you do it now?
We'll have a little play now.
Yeah, she's going to.
Here's a little play I prepared earlier.
That is nice.
So you actually,
No,
you have leftovers, do you?
2.
You'll have 2 pieces that you don't use. See how I've got the opposites, top and bottom. And you can see the different flowers going on this side in comparison to the other side. So now we're going to try it with the border print on the outside. Looks very effective, doesn't it?
ladies, you can have a matching runner for your bedspread when you finish it.
That's nice. I think it's nice.
It is
Really
lovely.
lovely.
Okay, so we're going to piece it together now. It's up to you which way you want to lay it out. You can have your border print on the outside or the inside. And depending on how you cut it out will determine where that border print will actually sit. So remember, all your pieces are exactly the same size, so when you sew your triangles together, they should fit at either end. Some of your triangles will be on the bias, so just remember they will have a little bit of stretch, so make sure your triangles fit. When I'm sewing a triangle on the bias, I always make sure I put the triangle that has got the bias on the bottom.
And there we go.
Get out of the big stuff.
And I also make sure I open my seams up flat. Whenever there's a lot of seams going to the centre, I make sure I press those seams open flat. It just reduces a lot of the bulk in the centre point of your work. And we sew one row at a time. You sew the top and then the bottom, and then we will join those rows together. Make sure you match up your border prints. And when you've got points to match up, I always make sure I pin those points. And I just sew over those points to make sure I get them right. And if they're not right, there's not so much unpicking to do. If you increase your stitch length when you sew over your points to make sure they're right, it's easy to pull on one thread and just pull it out. I've used some fork pins over the points. So once you've sewn that middle row together, you're finished.
Biscuits gone.
How cold was it?
How do we know it was coffee? So there it is. The Kaleidoscope table runner made out of a border print and using a 60-degree triangle ruler.
Directed by Rebecca. I like that.
And thanks to Cheryl Green for helping, who could not make it today.
Sorry.
Look at that. Okay,
That's what goes on YouTube.
Okay, thank you very much. Ladies, did we enjoy our project today?
Yes.
Did we enjoy our project today? And kits are available on our website, www.cqsewing.com.au. Thank you.